Welcome to I Love My HBCU ? The podcast where we express our undeniable love for HBCUs, but where we are also not afraid to address a few tough questions. So, sit back, learn a little, love a lot, and rep your HBCU. It is another episode and another reason to love your HBCU. If you are watching and not just listening, I have the amazing, the beautiful Denver Obermeyer with me in the studio today. Denver, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I can't complain. I'm not 100% sure when everyone's going to see this episode, but we are recording this on the eve of the 4th of July. And that's special for a couple of reasons. Happy birthday, America. But happy birthday in advance to you too, Denver, because I know your birthday is on the 6th of
Yes.
July, right?
Yes. Thank you. I can't wait for the 4th and my birthday.
I love
Very
it.
excited.
Because I know that you are repping all things 4th of July today. Can we see your nails?
Yes. These are my nails.
Isn't that gorgeous, people? That is amazing.
She
So,
did
Denver,
amazing.
tell us about you. I know you, and I'm grateful that you said yes to being on our podcast. Let me put this out there. Every single time we have a non-Black person on the podcast, I am asked, but why? It is I love my HBCU ? And I want to remind every single human being who's listening to the sound of my voice that historically Black colleges and universities are welcoming of all people. They are historically Black, and I appreciate that. But we've got a multitude of cultures who attend HBCUs now and who support HBCUs, and we welcome every last one of them. So, Denver, tell us a little bit about you before we get into a lovely conversation.
Okay, so as you just said, my name is Denver. I am from South Jersey, about like 10 minutes from Atlantic City. And I absolutely love where I live. I love where I'm from. I love going to the beach. I have a lot of hobbies. Let me start off by saying I go to Morgan State. I'm going into my junior year. I'm studying construction management as a woman, and I play softball at Morgan State as well. But aside from Morgan, I play volleyball. I love to play golf. I love to bowl, surf, go to the beach, as I said. I have two sisters. One of them is older. She is 21. Her name's Colby. She goes to LaSalle. And then I have a younger sister, Parker, who is 15, and she's going to be a sophomore in high school. And then there's my mom, who's raising us all. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here.
I love it. I love it. There's something you said that I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Lean into that. You said, and this is my way of giving a massive plug to all the women who are in that industry, who are going into that industry, because I'm lucky enough to know three, but I don't think too many people run into women who choose construction management as a major or as a field, a career. What made you choose construction management?
So it was 100% my mom. I had no idea about anything in the industry, what it was about. I had no idea I would even be interested in something like that. But somewhere during my recruitment process, she sat me down and was like, hey, I think you should look into this. And we went for it and started searching for schools that offered it as a major. And that's how I got into it. And I thought that this is really going to be something that I can enjoy.
So you're going into your junior year. Kudos, mom. Mom's been very active, and I love it.
Yeah.
So kudos, mom, for knowing her daughter and suggesting something that her daughter should do. But now that you're going into your junior year, how do you feel about being a construction management major? Like, what are you looking forward to in that field?
So I just feel like I feel like there's a lot to look forward to. There's so much potential in the field because this industry is constantly growing, and it's just getting bigger and bigger. And there's so many different routes that I can go to. Like I like the, potential me being able to have freedom in whatever path I want to take, whether I want to be in like more the managerial side, the office side, the field side, just like kind of being able to choose my own path and what position, and also the fact that there's a lot of money in the industry, which is obviously a huge part as well. So,
I love it. So I don't know much about construction management, but I do know that one of my former students who graduated not too long ago got a job offer and will be starting with Turner Construction, which I don't want to get this wrong, but I believe they are one of, if not the number one company in that space, in that area. So kudos to them for bring she I just said she kudos to them for making sure that they are an attractive organization for women who go into a
mhm.
field that traditionally does not necessarily speak to women to join. Kudos to them for continuing to attract them. Okay, I'm pivoting from the construction management conversation. I just love the way you said as a woman, because there are several industries that women will not think about or does not even come to their mind to think about, because it's traditionally male focused, male centered. And let's be clear, I don't think I'm the only person that when I hear the word construction, I have a visual in my head of the kind of person
Yes.
that goes into it, and it's not a woman.
Yeah.
It's a kind of man. It's a man that's, let's leave it there, because I have several descriptions for the
Yeah.
kind of
You
man
know,
that I
I
imagine.
Yeah,
You know,
I was gonna say that too. I feel like when I tell people that don't know anything about it, like, oh yeah, I'm studying construction management, the first thought that goes to their head is one, that's like not usually a women dominated field, and two, they just like assume that I'm gonna be like a construction worker on the side of the road, which is understandable if you don't know anything about the field, but that's just like not the case. That's not what I'm going to be doing. And, I'm going to have a much bigger role within the industry. But definitely want to spread more like awareness to that,
I
especially for women
appreciate
going into
that.
the field.
I appreciate that. And I think us having this even brief conversation about it, any student that's listening that may be curious, this is going to cause them to go research it a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to ask you about your college selection journey. I want to know how you decided on Morgan State University. I'm going to ask you about your experience as a non Black student at Morgan State University or at your HBCU. But before I do that,
No.
it's time for the rapid fire segment. And I'm going to throw as many questions at you as possible. Denver, let's get a lot of questions in, okay?
Okay, I'm
Thank
scared.
you. Thank you. Don't be scared.
Okay,
Don't be scared. Okay, so time's on the clock. Denver, describe yourself in 3 words.
3 words: competitive, um, outgoing, and supportive.
I love that. Describe your HBCU experience in 1 word.
Overwhelming.
Okay, I'm going to come back to that. I'm curious. You're at your college graduation. Who do you want as the commencement speaker?
The commencement speaker, like someone that goes to Morgan, or like anyone as like
It could
speaking in
be
the crowd?
anybody that's speaking at your graduation. Who do you want it to be when you're graduating from college?
In college, if I were to pick anyone to graduate or to speak at graduation, I don't know. Maybe like one of my coaches.
I
I
like
don't know which
that. I
one.
like that. I like that. Describe your time in college so far in the form of a song.
Okay. Okay. If I had to pick a song, it would be Unwritten by Natasha Benningfield. I don't know
Oh
if you know
my
that one.
gosh. Do you know I love that
I do
song?
too. And
Ah!
I found it and I was like, this is perfect.
Oh, that is perfect. That is absolutely perfect. On a scale of 1 through 10, how good of a student are you?
I'm going to have to say six,
Okay, I would have given
maybe
you like an
6.5,
8,
maybe 6.5.
6.5. We need to get to that too, because I would have given you an 8.5, but okay,
Okay. I mean,
6.5.
if you think then that's good.
6.5, 6.5. Shout out your favorite person at your institution. It could be anyone, a fellow student, a coach, a anybody.
Okay. Okay. I would say she just graduated, but my friend Allison Keener, she just like opened so many doors for me. And I'm so grateful. I'll forever be grateful for her, but she just graduated, so I won't be able to be on campus with her anymore. But she's my girl. She was
I
on
love
softball
it.
with me too.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Oh, I've got one more question. I've got one more question.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, come on, Tosin. One more question. One more question. What would you have wanted to tell your roommate that you haven't? And you, most of yours are teammates as well. So, what would you want to
Yes.
tell your roommate that you haven't?
Well, the past two roommates that I've had for the past 2 years both transferred after rooming. So if I were to talk to both of them, I'd tell them to come back. But especially my first roommate, I think she was just very overwhelmed towards the end of the year. And I think that had she stuck it out, she would have really enjoyed the rest of her time here, especially with our new softball coach. I think she would have thrived here had she just given it a little bit more time.
I like that. I like that. Okay, time's up. We got I don't know how many questions we got in, but we got
That
we
was
got a lot
good.
of questions. That was good. That was good. That was good. You mentioned a college roommate that was overwhelmed, and when I asked you to describe your experience in one word, you also said overwhelming. So
Yeah.
I'm curious about that. Even before I get into your college selection journey, why overwhelming?
Um,
Understandably so, but why
yeah.
overwhelming?
Well, just because I'm stepping into so many new things at the same time, especially being on the athletics team. It's like not only are you stepping on to what every college student is experiencing, the living on your own, rooming with someone maybe for the first time, having to navigate life on your own, and then also having to step into a new team, a new coach, a new way of living basically with everything around you, a new way of communicating and talking to people, and it's just a lot to learn at once. But it got better obviously as it went on. So
I'm curious to know you. Um, 2 years from now, and I'm curious to, because I'm talking to you right now as a student and you're finishing your sophomore year going into your junior year, and that's why I quickly added understandably, like for so many reasons it makes sense that it would be overwhelming. I just wanted to hear your reasons, but I'm curious to know what that transitions into as you're getting towards your senior year and then graduating from college, because I agree with you. To the person that left, it would have been nice for them to, it would be nice to see what their journey would have looked like as well.
yeah.
You are from New Jersey. Morgan State University is in Maryland. There are several institutions between New Jersey and Maryland. Walk me through your college selection journey.
Okay, so my college selection journey was probably a little bit different than most people's because it was kind of centered around my recruiting process with softball. And I hate to make this like keep answering everything that I say with softball, but I started my recruiting process very late compared to other athletes because athletes that go to these big schools that have very dominant programs like the Big Ten or the Pac 12, oftentimes they are all recruited at a very young age, sometimes before they even go into high school. So obviously, they have to be on top of that when they're younger. So there's a point in my softball career where I didn't think that I wanted to play at the collegiate level anymore, which had been my dream since I was like 10 years old. And I told myself that I was either going to play Division I softball or I wasn't going to play because that was just the standard that I set for myself. And I didn't want to I didn't want to like upset myself, like going something that I knew I didn't deserve. So, when I did start to get into my recruiting process, I was reaching out to a bunch of schools, bunch of coaches, which is, the typical process, but it was hard for me to get responses back from coaches as any athlete would be. But, as someone who was going into their junior year of high school, not committed, it was kind of like walking on eggshells, like what's going to happen? Am I going to make this? Is it going to be able to work? And every day I was having my mom send me schools and she would go and look up, as I said, she mentioned to me the construction management major. So once she and I had decided that that's what I was going to be doing, then she would literally just research schools that had that as a major. And every day at work, she'd be texting me, oh, send this one email, send this one email. So one day she just sent me, oh, Morgan State, send him an email. So then I reached out to the coach, and I vividly remember the coach at the time responded to me with 2 words in the email. He just said, let's talk. And I was like, I just had a feeling about it, because who responds to an email as a Division 1 coach with let's talk? So, and that's just kind of where it all got started. And now I'm here, and I went on a tour, and Morgan really just checked off all the boxes that I had on my college list for me. So
So, because mom was very active in helping you make this selection, I'm going to guess that mom was also happy. Like her reaction was happy that you got selected and that you started your journey in the major that the two of you selected together for you.
yes, I know it
But
sounds bad.
no, it doesn't sound bad. I think it actually sounds supportive. It's different if you say my mom made me do it as
Yeah,
opposed to my mom introduced me to it. Those are two very different things.
yes, that's true. I mean, when I was younger, I like growing up, I wanted to be a teacher when I grew up. And I think that I wanted that for myself because of the experience that I had as a student throughout like elementary school and middle school and high school, whatever. And I just like love that atmosphere. But it got to a certain point when I was in high school that it made me realize like it's just very, very different now. And I mean, all the teachers now, like if you're a teacher now, like I give you a lot of props, because it's so much like harder to handle
Girl.
everything now. And also like the pay is just not where I want it to be for my life. So I was at a point where I was like, I don't really know what to do, because like I'm like, I'm too I'm too lazy to go to school for like 8 to 10 years to be like a lawyer or a crazy doc. Like I'm not smart enough to be a doctor. Like I'm not. I knew myself. Like I know how much work it takes to be a good student in like nursing. My sister Colby is a nursing major, and I could not imagine ever doing what she has to do as a nursing major, because I give her plenty of props for doing what she does. But I just knew that's something that I couldn't do. So I was kind of struggling to find something that I'd like genuinely enjoy that wasn't too far out of reach for me. And that's when my mom was like, construction management. And I was like, wait, that kind of seems up my alley. So well, it really worked out
See,
eventually.
so stop saying it's bad by adding your mom to the story. I think your mom was very instrumental in supporting you in
100%.
finding and landing where you were going to be. So let's give
100%.
mom some props here. Because listen, our parents, God bless them. God bless them all. Um, you are a lovely young white lady who is attending HBCU. It is impossible not to ask you if you have had any issues with feeling like you belong there. Um, not walk me through it. I am curious to hear, did Denver feel like she belonged at her HBCU, and does Denver feel like she belongs at her HBCU? Because we're going into year 3. I want to know what it felt like initially. I want to know if there was a culture shock. Like, I want to know, and I want to know what it feels like for you now, even if it happens to be the same.
Okay, so starting with the second half of the question, I would say that I feel like I belong now, and I feel like I can confidently say that, just because of like everything that I've gone through to get to where I am. However, there was definitely points in time throughout, more so my freshman year, not as much my sophomore year, where
Mm,
I felt a little bit out of place, just like on campus or in class or even like in my dorm. I was lucky enough to live in Thurgood Marshall Hall and then Legacy Hall this past year, which are two very beautiful dorms. And when I first got here, I definitely would say that I experienced culture shock. Even coming here for orientation over the summer before I came in as a freshman, it's just like obviously very different than where I'm used to, or like even who I'm used to living with and everything. But the people that I've met over the last 2 years, and especially like this past year, like just the connections that I've made and the comfortable, how comfortable I got talking to more people, even within just the athletics department alone, I would say made me feel more welcome and that I belong where I am now. and also just, trusting God's plan and, reassuring myself that He put me here in this position and I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be in my life.
So, no initially, but definitely yes now. Do you
Yeah.
think it has helped that you came in? So, listen, let's put it out there. And anyone watching this is like, Tosin, come on, you've got to say it. So, I'm going to say the thing. When I see most non-black students at an HBCU, my automatic assumption is, what sport do they play? And you are an
Yeah.
athlete.
Yes.
So, do you think that it was, I don't want to say a soft landing, because even you have shared that even when you came for orientation, there was a culture shock. So I'm not going to call it a soft landing, but do you think it helps for you to feel more like you belong because you are part of an athletic team that can almost cocoon you within the larger group of the institution?
Yes, I would say 100%. And I feel like I think about this all the time because I'm like, if I really wasn't like on the softball team, like, would I be able to have any friends here? Or like,
Mm,
even not even like specifically at an HBCU, just like how like would I feel like
yeah.
everything that I have going for me has not come through athletics, but has some type of connection to athletics, or at least like got started through someone that I know in athletics. Um, but I definitely think that having my team is basically just like an automatic 12 friends that I can rely on and that have my back and can help me navigate through my journey. But um, yeah, I just definitely think that they're a big part of my experience. So,
So now that you're first, do I want to hear? We'll see. Now that you are here, does attending your HBCU make you think any differently about race? Does it make you think any differently about your own identity? And if it does, I'd love to hear how. If it doesn't, that's perfectly fine too.
I would say it makes me think more about it. Not that it necessarily makes me think differently, or for race at least. Um, I mean, it's hard when like I'm walking around and I do feel like sometimes people are looking at me because I'm like one of the only non-black people around. But it just makes me think about it a little more often. But not necessarily that I think my perspective has changed on the way that I think or feel about it. But I definitely can't lie and say that it's not on my mind more. So,
What are classes like for you? And this is why I'm saying this, right? I imagine that if I were white and I walked into a classroom with mostly non-white students, and and it almost doesn't matter what class it is, because I teach at an HBCU. So I know that I get very, very conversational. I use colloquialisms that persons who look like me probably know a little bit more than persons who don't look like me. Do you sometimes feel like an outsider in those conversations? Do you sometimes just silence yourself in those conversations? Or do you jump right in and become part of the conversations? Like I want to be in Denver's head for a second and imagine, what does it feel like to be that person in the room who's looking around like, did I
yeah, so definitely there's been a lot of times where, especially during the beginning of the semester when like everybody just kind of realizing that I'm there. And a lot of teachers or professors don't fail to mention that I am the minority in the class, which immediately makes me like, okay, well, now everyone's looking at me. Um, but I mean, I don't blame the professors for asking me when they do ask, because I know most of the time it's out of pure curiosity on why I came to Morgan. But there are a few times where the class is just having like a conversation about one thing or another, and it leads back to race and
Mhm.
how mostly black students are affected by whatever topic we're talking about. And that in those situations, I definitely do kind of sometimes feel a little flustered, because now I'm like thinking, okay, well, everyone knows that I'm sitting over here and that I can't relate, or how I'm affected differently by this. And I definitely I feel like that happened a few times when I was in your class, discovering your student
Okay.
identity, which I love that class because it did. We had like so many great conversations. But there was one time I remember where we were talking about like the history of rock and roll or something, and one student got up and was like, "Black people invented it, and white people stole it from us." And I was like, just like sitting back, and I was like, "One, I don't even know if that's true," and two, I'm like right here, and I feel like I remember you being like, like there's white people in this class, like because there was other people in that class that was. It's just like times like that that make it a little bit awkward, and that normally other students at Morgan don't experience things like that. But
Yeah.
I mean, if it's like a normal conversation or even a conversation about race, I don't feel like I can't jump in a conversation. I feel like a lot of time I'm willing to jump in a conversation because I know some people are curious as to what I
Yeah.
have to say.
To say.
So when the time is right, I definitely speak up.
So I think I hope I don't get any flack for this, but it's likely that I will. And okay. I do think it's a big deal that we have white students in our classes at HBCUs. I do think it's a big deal that we have white students at HBCUs. And the reason why I think that's a big deal is I don't think it's an anomaly for a non white person to be at a predominantly white institution. It's not expected, but it's not quite as expected. Just my viewpoint, just my perspective. It's not quite as expected for the other way around. And so I do think it's a big deal. I do think we should see more of it. I do think we should be open to having conversations that will have a good number of those persons on opposite sides of the opinion continuum, but with an effort and a desire to at least try to understand what the other person or where the other person is coming from, even if you don't accept what the other person has to say. The part that I think I'm going to get flack for is when I say I do think it is a big deal for non-black students to attend HBCUs. Do you agree with that perspective? And if you don't want to receive the flack with me, you don't have to agree with the
No.
perspective, Denver. But I do want to hear your perspective on whether or not you do think it's a big deal that non-black students attend HBCUs. And then I'm going to ask you about whether or not you would want to encourage more of non-black students to attend HBCU. So first of all, do you think it's a big deal? If so, why? And then should more of them attend?
Yeah. So I would say it is a big deal, but not because I would say, okay, let me word this how I'm trying to say. I think it's a big deal because the black students who attend almost make it a big deal, or like other people put that perspective on us. I don't think, like, I personally, I don't think it should be a big deal,
Yeah.
but it is because there's not many of us, like as you said, it's not unnormal for to see a black student at like a PWI or other non-black students or non-white students at a PWI, and like because that's how it should be, like it shouldn't be a big deal. So I feel like it should be the same way. Like it shouldn't be a big deal, but for some reason it feels like it is. And yeah, I would definitely say that I would encourage more people that aren't black to attend HBCUs because it's just like a whole different experience. And um, there's just like a lot of things to off that are being offered, things that are offered at other schools as well that aren't HBCUs, but just people turn them down just because they have the label HBCU, not because of, what they're looking for in a college is could be right in front of them. So I definitely would encourage more non-black students to come.
I love that you said that. I look forward. I was not. Most people who know me know I was not raised in the United States of America, and of course that colors my perspective. Um, but I do. I want historically black colleges and universities. Lord have mercy. I have a podcast called "I Love My HBCU?" question mark. So I want historically black colleges and universities to remain at their core who they are, culturally, the traditions that birthed them, the traditions that make them so uniquely different. I want that to remain. Having said that, I too would love to see a time where it is not a big deal for a non Black student to attend an HBCU and have the diversity truly allow us to be a bit more welcoming of all of who we are as human beings. I do look forward to that. You said something at the end of your comment that I love. And I wasn't thinking about this question before, but now I must ask it. And I'm going to ask it in both directions. So, direction number one, what do you think HBCUs do really well and better than other universities?
Hmm, this is a good one. I think HBCUs get people together way more and way easier. Get people together for like events, for fun stuff, for community purposes. Like they have like an event planned and just like people are excited to come and they're being part of it. You know, we obviously have like a huge homecoming week and you know, every school has a homecoming, but I feel like Morgan State does homecoming different than everybody else does homecoming. You know, like we know how to have a homecoming, you know, and think about how many alumni come to homecoming just for homecoming, you know, and they're just so good at, you know, having these big community like events where people can come together and like do stuff.
So they build. So what I'm hearing you say is that you feel that what HBCUs get better than other institutions is that they build, they bring people together to build and feel like they're part of a community. That's what I'm hearing from you. I
Yeah.
told you I'm going to ask it in the other direction as well. So take a deep
Yeah.
breath. Take a deep breath. What's one thing HBCUs could learn from other institutions, like your predominantly white institutions and non HBCUs? What could HBCUs learn from those other institutions, in your humble opinion?
Okay. So in my humble opinion, and I don't want this to like come off the wrong way, but I feel like there is like a little bit of lack of professionality. um I remember like coming or like signing up for orientation before I came here as a freshman, and just like I vividly remember seeing so many like typos in everything that was being sent to me and like on like throughout like the emails or the website, or there was just so many like little things that were like, oh this, or like it would be like, so today is Friday, July 3rd, it would be like, oh, orientation date Friday, July 4th. And it's like, well, is it the 4th or is it the Friday? Or I don't know. It would just be like little things like that. And I do feel like on campus as well, there's just like a little bit of lack of professionality, not in everybody, but you know, in some things, I feel like it's harder for some people to like understand when they need to be more professional or in a professional setting. But yeah, that's what I have.
I'll take it. Listen, it's your humble opinion, and you're allowed to have one, regardless of how it lands with anybody, including myself.
Yeah.
I hope this isn't too much of a tough one for you. Has anyone ever questioned whether you belong at an HBCU? And if so, how did it affect you?
I feel like I haven't directly been asked if well, not by people on campus, I would say, but I, you know, like the first thing you tell like other people at home, like, oh, like I go to an HBCU, they're like, oh, like, how was it? Like, and almost like with a question mark at it, they're like, you, like, how was that? Um, that but there has been a few experiences also on campus where other people have said stuff to me that made me feel like, okay, well, clearly you don't think I belong here. But then there's also been so many more other better experiences that I've had with people that made me feel belong. One example, me and my freshman year roommate were coming back up to our room in the elevator one time, and there was a group of people in the elevator, and then this one girl was like, this was right after we got back from winter break, so you know, people were coming back to campus, and she was like, oh, like I didn't know we had white people on campus, or like, oh, we got more white people on campus. And it was just like a time like that where it was like, oh, well, I don't really know how to respond to that. So in that situation, I didn't say anything because we were in a big group of people on the elevator and I just didn't feel it was necessary. I was like, I'm just trying to get back to my room. But then that girl ended up getting off the elevator like two floors later. And then the rest of the people on the elevator were like, we're so sorry. Like, we didn't have anything to do with that. Like, we didn't know what that was about. And, it was those people that made me feel better. And I was like, okay, well, thank you for making me feel appreciated and making me feel like I can belong here.
Oh, that's sweet. That's sweet. That's sweet. That's sweet. And that's very bold
Yeah.
um of somebody to say that.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. I don't know how I would have reacted. That's sweet of those who addressed it, because they could have also just been very quiet. But also very, very bold of the person that chose to do that. Um, you said earlier on when I asked you on a scale of 1 through 10,
Oh no.
and hopefully
Oh.
your mom is nowhere around to hear this. You gave yourself a 6.5.
Yeah.
Break this down to me, Denver.
I just there's so many times I feel like where I'm stuck in my own head where I'm like,
Yeah.
I know I should be doing this for my school right now or schoolwork. And instead, I'm willingly choosing not to do what I should be doing. And I feel like that's the part of me where, like, I feel like that happened like too many times this semester. And this isn't me making an excuse, but me being on an athletics team, especially during the spring semester where we have like 20+ hour weeks of softball alone and we're traveling like every weekend and we're practicing every day for like three at least hours a day.
Yeah.
I just like it gets to a point where in the season where we're just like on repeat and it's just tiring. So it's already like hard enough to do like the bare minimum through my schoolwork, but I know I'm like laying in bed ready to go to sleep at like 7:30 p.m. and I'm like, man, I really like should be taking notes or I should be reading this extra chapter again for my class, but instead I'm just like gonna pass out and go to sleep because like I'm just so tired, but I know that I want to do so much more as a student, and I just like I'm not doing that. But I mean, my grades are like as if I'm a 9 out of 10 student because I make sure my grades are good and I make sure I get my work done. But there's just more that I wish I could be doing, should be doing as a student to be a better student. But that's why. I mean, I guess I could bump it up to a 7, but I feel like that'd be a little much for me, for my
Okay.
standard at least.
For your standard. Okay. Okay, that's fair. So I want to actually fully pivot now into you being a student athlete. Um and I love sports. The World Cup is going on right now. I
Yes.
wish I was a betting person, because I'm going to say it, France is winning the World Cup in 2026. Period. France is winning the World Cup in 2026, and Kylian Mbappe is taking it home. So I love sports. Let's put that out there. So
Yes.
this question now might become a little bit unfair, and it's not meant to, but I do wonder, right? A lot of institutions, not just HBCUs, a lot of institutions prioritize their athletic programs. They just do. And with it comes special privileges for the athletes and so on and so forth. And I don't know the numbers, but we also know that the percentage of students who play different sports on their college campuses don't end up going pro.
Right.
This is an unfair question for you, Denver. It is, but I'm
It's
still going to
okay.
ask it. I'm still going to ask it. Do you think that there should be more focus on the academic side of an athlete's matriculation in college than the athletic side? And I'll give you an example of exactly what I'm saying. So, even when I listen to your response that you just gave, it's not just because Denver is lazy that she's not reading that extra chapter. Part of it is because of the schedule that she has to keep as an athlete, as a student
Yeah.
athlete, that tires her out and doesn't necessarily encourage her to, okay, after that practice, now let's take another 2 hours to read
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z. That's where that question is coming from. When we know, we all know that most, I think the number is a little close to 90% of student athletes are not going to make it to pro. I could be wrong, but it's high. Do you think it's do you think it's overly prioritized, and should academics be prioritized more, not by the students, I'm talking about the schools and the programs themselves?
So I feel like the answer here should be like yes. And I want to say that, well, it's hard to answer because when you talk about stuff like this, it's like, well, let's think about what we can do more for the athletes to prioritize their academics. And I feel like we've already gotten to a point where like a lot of schools nowadays like have so many resources for the student athletes, but um, like there's different like study halls and tutoring and different advisors, and like we do have different resources that are there to help us you know be able to prioritize our academics more. But I just still feel like it's the just as you said, the demanding schedule of it that's really what takes most athletes out. It's the fact that most of my day, like my schedule, my every day is revolved around my practice. And it's just like if I happen to have class in between 12 and 2, then I get up, I go to lift, and I have to go right to class, and then I'm going right to practice. So it's not like the resources that they have aren't useful, because they definitely are, but it's hard to find more resources that would be able to benefit our academics based on the problems that we're having, which is really just, or at least for me,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
which is like the schedule. Like all freshmen have to do X amount of study hall hours a week. And I think that's great. And I don't know if that's something that maybe needs to be implemented, like through all athletes, no matter what grade level. I don't necessarily think that that would be the option, but it's like little things like that that are implemented to help us, but can't always help us based off, like what we're actually feeling the problem is. But I definitely think more student athletes should try to focus on their academics more. And this is at least coming from me, who said that, who just rated myself a 6.5 student. But yeah,
I believe it or not, I would disagree with you. And that's why I said I think it's an unfair question to ask you. Like, I knew that going in, and I
yeah,
absolutely appreciate you for still responding and taking on the challenge. But the reason why, the part I disagree with, I don't disagree with everything, of course, but the part I disagree with is I do not think the responsibility is on the student athlete. I just don't. I really do think the responsibility is on the programs. I think the responsibility is on the institutions, because you are not wrong. There are so many resources, but that's like adding yet another job to
yeah,
the student athlete, because all those resources that you've provided for me on the academic side doesn't take away the fact that I still have to do A, B, C, D, E, F, and G on the athletic side of things. And the
yeah,
reason why I wanted to bring this up in conversation with a student, with a current student athlete, is I run into enough times where a coach will tell me that a student cannot be excused for a class because they've got practice. And I'm like, pause. So why are they in college? Are they in college for the
yeah.
sport? Or are they in college? You get now, you get
I
where my
know.
question is coming from.
I 100% agree with you on that. And I will give so many props to our current coach, Coach Shock, Coach Melissa Shock. She has done an incredible amount of stuff in the short period of time that she's been here for 1 year, and she's done like incredible stuff. I can't wait to spend the next 2, maybe 3 years playing under her. And
Oh, that's lovely.
even on the academic side, she is very student first. Like we would never miss class for practice. For competition is a little different, but like if you're not at class, she will call you and be like, why aren't you in class?
Wow.
You know, she
Nice.
will make sure. And she came from a Division II school where I could be a little bit wrong about this, but I'm almost 100% positive that she had the highest team GPA in like all of Division II softball
Wow.
at her team in North Carolina, where she came from, because she takes her academics very seriously.
Very seriously.
And she does care about us, you know. And if we're at the point in, like, especially during the spring season, like I said, where we're just like feeling cooked and they have a lot going on, she'll be like, all right guys, like we're just gonna go in and we're gonna do an hour of like yoga and stretching today, and then you guys like relax and take the day and focus on your schoolwork and stuff. And that's one of the many reasons why I love her. But you know, it
That
wasn't
sounds
always like
like
that.
balance. That
And
sounds
I
like
know, yes,
balance.
it is like amazing, but I know not every school does that. And I,
Absolutely.
you know, wish that that could be something, you know, where more schools have that. But you know, not every school can have a Coach Shock.
There's only one Coach Shock. I love it. Denver, as we bring this to a close, number one, thank you. I've thrown some hard questions at you, and you've answered every last one of them. And this is on all fronts, because even the student athlete one, asking a student athlete, should you really be focusing
Oh,
on your sport instead of
yeah.
academics? That could be a little. So I appreciate you for answering every single question that I've thrown at you. However, is there something that you're like, okay, come on, Dr. Tosin, you should have asked me this, that you would love to share with the audience before we say goodbye?
Um, Honestly, I don't think there's anything that you should have asked me. I think that the questions you asked me were good and covered a lot of topics. But, you know, I guess if there's one thing I'd want other people to hear is just be like, maybe don't be, again, this isn't for everyone, but don't be so quick to judge, you know, or don't be afraid to come and talk to me or communicate with people, you know, like if you're really curious or you're feeling a certain type of way about something or someone, you know, just go about it the right way, I
I
feel like.
love that. I love that. Denver Obermeyer. And those who know that I am at Morgan State University, and I love having conversations with my students. I've loved Denver from day one. I teasingly said, Denver, I will never ever forget your name, because in my head I'm saying Denver, Colorado. And because of
Yes.
that, I've never forgotten your
It's
name. You are an
impossible.
absolute joy to know, and I
Thank
appreciate you for being on the podcast. She was excited to do this with me. I'm like, who wants to sit and talk with me? But she was really excited to do this, and I really appreciate that.
Yes.
It is
Yes.
impossible, and I mean this. I know I say this at the end of every episode, and I mean it for every single episode. I really do. It is impossible for you to have seen Denver Obermeyer on this episode and not go ahead and like this episode. So go ahead and like this episode. And I hope that I have done my due diligence in convincing you to subscribe to I Love My HBCU question mark wherever you get your podcasts. Yours, oh, no, 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 no. I was just about to end out, but I cannot end without asking you this.
Yeah.
In one word or short phrase, Denver, why do you love HBCUs?
HBCUs or my HBCU?
Go with either. It's up to you.
Okay. I would say I love my HBCU, Morgan State University, because every person that I've interacted with, almost every person that I've interacted with, has made it feel literally like a home away from home for me. And I know it's a basic answer, but every person that goes off to college, they can't always say that they feel like they've created a home away from home. And I'm glad to say that I can confidently say that I have a home away from home.
That is not a basic answer. Yours in HBCU love. See you next episode. Denver, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You've been listening to I Love My HBCU question mark. Let's keep the conversation going as we share our stories and encourage more practical support of HBCUs, whilst of course holding each other accountable. Don't forget to follow and subscribe for the latest episodes. Until next time, love and lift your HBCU.